Hello there, my peeps. Episode 2 of The Last of Us has now finally dropped, entitled Infected. The first episode proved to be a knockout banger that not only pleased longtime fans of the first game, but also brought in a lot of newcomers interested to see what this world is like. And here with the second episode, I feel like they are continuing to prove that they can remain faithful to the games while still adding in new tidbits, changing a couple of things up, all for the better. So what I'm doing here for you guys is giving you my episode 2 breakdown of The Last of Us, pointing out some things you might have missed, little differences to the game, really just an overall discussion of this episode, as well as you guys leave me your opinions down below on how you're liking this episode, some of the changes they've made, whether you've played the game or not, and if it's still hooking you in. Alright, so with the beginning of episode 2, they do something new that was not included in the games and give us a flashback to where this cordyceps infection started. Now, it's worth pointing out, a lot of people caught on to this in the first episode, because in the first episode there were mumblings in the background, news stations talking about Indonesia, one of the biggest manufacturers of flour on the planet. Paired that up with the fans noticing how Joel and his daughter were just avoiding flour at every turn, from the daughter forgetting to buy flowers to make him pancakes in the morning, from the neighbors offering them biscuits. Even when the daughter Sarah was making cookies with the neighbor, they were raisin cookies, a very specific kind of cookie no kid wants to take a bite of. So that fan theory got proven true here, with the military of Indonesia mentioning that this all started in a flour factory where a couple of employees got infected, then they started attacking other employees, and then 14 of those employees are now missing, basically making it almost too late to contain the situation. But before we're given that information, we do see the military bring in this expert on fungus, specifically cordyceps, and this was some great haunting stuff that I wonder if it has some implications for the ending of the show. Just seeing this expert's reaction to the cordyceps and how frightened she is, how she straight away goes to, no, bomb the whole place, bomb everything, this is not good and we're not going to survive this. Along with her also mentioning there is no medicine, there is no vaccine for this. That's kind of the whole point of this show, and where everything is leading towards Joel getting Ellie to this safe base where there's doctors that are apparently going to make a vaccine out of Ellie's blood. Now, again, I'm only going to spoil what we've seen in this show. I'm not going to spoil what happens since I've played the 2 games. So just alluding to it for my fans who have also played the games and know where things are headed, is this the show's way subtly hinting at us that the actions taken by the last episode or the ending of this season are justified? I guess we'll see. Bringing us back to present day, where Joel, Ellie, and Tess are waking up the day after they've escaped the town, where, again, I have to do the annoying thing of mentioning how exactly they have nailed the video game look and have translated it into live action form. Oh my goodness, there's like barely a distinction from live action to video game now. It's kind of wild. But in these moments the show has given us with the characters, before we get to some of the action and clickers walking around, I'm still really digging the performance of Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal. The random moments where she's bringing out inappropriate humor, that childlike sense of wonder, not only just for the world around her, but for the world looked like before it became the way it is. But again, as the characters are talking back and forth, we get little nuggets of things that we'll see in later episodes.
How did you get bit?
You know the old mall in the QZ? Didn't think there was going to be anything in there, and then one just came at me out of nowhere.
She says she went into that mall alone, but through trailer footage of the coming season, we know that's not true, and Storm Reed is going to be playing her friend Riley, and that's going to be one tragic episode to watch. She also gets asked if she has a boyfriend, replying with a strong no, because in the games she is gay. And when arriving to this flooded hotel, we get another detail about Ellie, that she doesn't know how to swim. This is kind of an annoying part in the video games, at least for me. There are sections of the game where you have to trade around some water, Joel has to swim in and out of places, and he always has to find some sort of plank or wood board so that Ellie can cross over. Here in this episode, they're planting the seeds for that, but who knows if in later episodes we'll get to a moment where Joel will have to escort Ellie through some not so shallow water, risking their lives in the process. Now, as they get closer to their destination, we get a bird's eye view of just a horde of infected on the ground. This is where Tess informs us of something new that is not from the video games, and it's this whole hive mind tendril situation that they added on for the show. I mentioned in my last breakdown and recap that they got rid of spores, those moments in the games where you have to put on a mask and make sure not to breathe in some of the poisonous air in closed spaces. For the show, I'm assuming they would have thought that was just not as realistic if it was airborne everywhere everybody would have it, and that's why they went with the choice of people who consume flour were the first to get it. So if you were gluten-free in this world, you was safe, my guy. But in replacing the spores, they added this hive mind situation where if tendrils feel you in the perimeter, they can inform other infected in the area to swarm after you. I am kind of bummed we're not gonna have those situations where Joel's in a mask and Ellie's not because she's immune, but the way it was played off in this episode, to me, it was just as frightening and effective, and it also makes you tense and more careful in certain areas so that you don't inform a hive to come after you. But then that brings us into the museum that is a level in the games filled with clickers here, another level of the infected. I thought they handled the clickers here perfectly, just straight ripped out of the video game. From the sounds they're making, their movements, to the designs, just wow. This is where The Last of Us could really shine and stand out from other zombie type infected shows or movies that we've had come out in the past decade. The moments here where they make it clear to the audience, you can shine a flashlight in these guys' faces. You can be right in front of them. They're not going to smell you. They're not going to hear you. But if you make any little movement, from heavy breathing to stepping on glass, they are going to come after you. And it was always some of the scariest stuff in the games, and now to see it in live action form, I felt just as tense. Even the little moments in here with Joel and Ellie just kind of crouching down, moving super slowly while it's in the background, my reflexes were kicking in. I was ready to grab my controller and go, I gotta throw a brick or a bottle. That, I think, is going to be one of the most underappreciated things about The Last of Us show, because I've already gotten comments about stop praising the writing, stop praising the director and the guys, like they just have to copy the games, and that's exactly what they're doing. While yes, I agree they're sticking very faithful to the game's storyline, from dialogue to outcomes to designs, they're making enough changes in here to make it their own thing where it feels fresh, like I'm playing the game again for the first time. And to prove on that, we get to the point here where Joel, Ellie, and Tess finally arrive to the capital, where they are supposed to hand off Ellie to the Firefly so they can go take her west to these doctors for the vaccine, only to realize that they ended up killing each other because a few of them ended up getting infected while they were waiting for them to arrive. This is where I want to praise the show for its handling of the character of Tess, because as people who have played the games, we all knew this was the episode she was going to end up dead. She dies early on when they get to the capital in this type of situation from ending up getting bit, and it's one of the reasons that causes her to really believe that Ellie is the answer to all their problems. The show is handling that beautifully, from her panicked nature, the way she sees how fast the virus was growing in her, and in Ellie when she also got bit the exact same time, but nothing was happening to her. It's that little silver lining of hope that Tess passes on to Joel that kind of gives him the fuel to then take care of Ellie all the way through for the rest of the game and the season. But for me personally, and maybe other people who have played the game feel this way, whenever she died in the game, I never really felt that bad. Like, yeah, it sucked for Joel that he lost someone that he grew to love other than just his daughter, but it never really hit me in the feelings. I never really got emotional about it. I was just like, it sucks, lady, shouldn't have got bit. This version of Tess, they did enough for me to actually care about her death. I'm not saying I bawled out, cried, and got all sad like Sarah's death in the first episode, but I was actually able to feel something for Tess this time around. And they even took it a step further with making her death way more brutal than it was in the game. Because in the game, yeah, they arrived to the capital, they discover she got bitten, but it was the military group from the town that followed them there that wanted to imprison Joel and Ellie from escaping. Here, they make it a horde of the infected coming after them. Me in this moment just thinking, oh, okay, she's just gonna blow the place up. We'll see it from a distance. It will be still pretty heartfelt. Kind of a nice little change. Nah, man, they full on had her trying to light the thing. Nothing was happening. Place was getting filled up, and the infected put their tendril little nasty mouths inside Tess, and then they blow it up. Like, what the heck? They did not need to make it that traumatizing. That's what I'm talking about. These little subtle changes, these moments where they make deaths and characters feel more impactful than they did in the game. I'm loving it. Even just the final shot before the credits roll and Ellie's defeat that she couldn't save Tess, someone she was actually growing to like. Another strong episode. Sometimes around when you get to the second episode in whatever season, it's usually the weaker episode because it's the one that has to do all the setting up, all the building. But to me, it's showing here they're going strong. And the next episode, I can't wait to meet Billy, especially just because I always thought he was such a dick in the games. Let's see if they make him likable or just continue to make him a dick. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode of The Last of Us Part 2 with the little changes that they made. Did they make you care about Tess more? For people who haven't played the games, how are you feeling on it? Any predictions that you have? But anything and everything, be sure to like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at 3C Films or on TikTok at 3C Films. But as always, I'm Chris. Take care.